Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. We're jumping right into things today because, honestly, we are looking at something absolutely fascinating. If you're the kind of person who loves to learn, appreciates structure, and values a truly methodical approach to the world around us, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're exploring the intersection of backyard botany and the scientific method. We're going to examine some incredible documentation from a blogger and gardener named Ang, who applies a deliberately patient, highly analytical methodology to their garden. We're zeroing in on their entry titled Notes on Gardening Part 918. Just think about that number for a second. 918. That is some serious dedication to observation, right? And today, we're breaking down Ang's meticulous evaluation of a very specific, totally unique plant. Okay, let's dive into this with a bit of a botanical riddle. What links Java tea and a feline's face? I know it sounds like the setup to a cheesy joke, doesn't it? But it's actually the key to understanding the dual identity of our subject today. You know, in the botany world, common names usually tell a story about what a plant looks like or how it's used. And here, we've got two completely different common names for the exact same specimen. One gives you a beverage, and the other points to an animal's most sensitive facial feature. Keep this question in the back of your mind as we go, because the answer reveals exactly why Ang was so captivated by this plant to begin with.
Section 1. Meet the cats-whiskers, a unique botanical subject.
So let's kick off our scientific method arc right here by defining exactly what plant Ang is evaluating in post 918 and why it caught their eye. Its scientific name is orthosiphon-aristatus. And remember our riddle? Yep, this single species is commonly known as both Java tea and cats-whiskers. But names aside, what makes it so absolutely crucial for Ang's evaluation is its nature. It is a highly hardy wild plant that requires little to literally no maintenance, which, let's be honest, is a total dream for those of us who occasionally forget to water our plants. For a hobbyist looking to run structured experiments, a plant that doesn't need constant, fragile care is the ultimate candidate. It means you can actually focus on observing how it reacts to specific variables instead of just panicking and struggling to keep it alive. That hardiness is the exact reason Ang flagged it for this rigorous process.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the mystery is totally solved. Why is it called cat's whiskers? Well, Ang writes in their notes that the plant will, and I quote, transform into white flowers featuring long, protruding stamens that truly resemble a cat's whiskers. It's incredibly visual, isn't it? The plant physically grows these long, elegant structures that look exactly like the whiskers on a feline's face. By breaking down Ang's notes, we get this super vivid picture of what's actually growing out there. But just identifying the plant is only step one. The real magic happens in how Ang actually decides to study it.
Section 2. The microclimates experiment. Evaluating the new specimens. All right, so here's where we transition into the actual methodology. According to the notes, Ang acquired 2 distinct specimens during some recent field trips to local plant centers. But the context here is absolutely key. Ang reminds us of previous encounters with this exact plant, specifically pointing back to past gardening notes, part 767 and 619. So this was definitely not an impulse buy. This acquisition is the culmination of a really long period of observation. Ang has literally been thinking about this plant for hundreds of entries, just waiting for the perfect moment to bring these 2 specimens into their own testing environment. And here is the absolute core of the experiment. Why buy 2 distinct specimens? Well, Ang isn't just sticking them in the dirt and hoping for the best. No way. Instead, they're evaluating the 2 specimens across 2 totally different microclimates. It's a brilliantly strategic approach. By taking the exact same hardy wild species and putting one in microclimate A and the other in microclimate B, Ang sets up a perfectly controlled comparison. They're testing the environmental conditions to see exactly where this orthosiphon-aristatus is going to thrive in their specific garden. It's systematic, it's structured, and it completely removes the guesswork. But guys, here is arguably the most brilliant piece of gardening wisdom from Ang's notes. Buy early flower buds, not full blooms. Think about it. When most people go to a nursery, what do? They grab the biggest, brightest, fully open flowers because they want that instant gratification, right? But Ang does the exact opposite. They deliberately chose specimens with early flower buds that were just waiting to open up. Why? So they could patiently observe the entire flowering process from start to finish. They wanted to witness that transformation into those cat's whiskers firsthand. It just tells you so much about Ang's mindset, prioritizing long-term learning and complete observation over a quick visual reward. Section 3. The propagation master plan. Scaling up success. Let's move to fauna and see how this builds into Eng's overarching, massive scientific method for garden expansion. It really breaks down into 4 clear steps. Step 1, observe the plant's hardiness in the wild, so you know it's a viable candidate. Step 2, acquire early flower buds so you can study the whole life cycle. Step 3, evaluate those specimens across different microclimates to find optimal growing conditions. And finally, step 4, propagate the species on a larger scale. Eng actually explicitly states in the notes that once enough knowledge is gained from this evaluation phase, they're going to officially add it to the collection and multiply it. Honestly, it's a total masterclass in patient scaling. Now, if you're sitting there wondering if this meticulous 4-step method actually works, well, Eng gives us the proof right there in the text. This isn't just a theory. Eng lists out their proven test subjects: basil, celosia, and sesame. These are crops Eng has already successfully evaluated and propagated on a much larger scale using this exact method. By listing these past successes, Eng establishes a ton of credibility. It literally proves that treating your garden like a laboratory, taking the time to evaluate before you propagate, yields real, tangible results. So, summarizing the core philosophy of Eng's 918-part journey, and man, what a journey it's been, it really all boils down to this: honing skills and conducting experiments through patient observation. That is the real heart of this explainer. It is not just about getting a pretty Java tea plant to pop up in the backyard. It's about using the plant as a tool to hone personal skills. It's the discipline of the experiment itself. It reinforces why a deliberate patient approach matters so much, not just for a botanist, but for any hobbyist trying to truly master their craft. Which brings us to our final takeaway, and a question I really want to leave you with today. How could you apply Eng's deliberate, experimental, early bud approach to your own hobbies or learning journeys? Seriously, think about it for a second. Where in your life are you rushing out to buy the full bloom because you just want instant results when you really should be starting with the early buds so you can understand the whole process? Whether you're learning to code, writing a book, or starting a business, there is incredible power in setting up your own microclimates, observing patiently, and earning the knowledge before you try to scale the whole shebang. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this awesome source material. Stay curious, stay focused, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.